A Christmas Story, God's Greatest Gift. The Christmas story is not merely a historical account. It is the turning point of all human history, the moment when heaven touched earth and God himself took on flesh to dwell among us. In the birth of Jesus Christ, we witness the fulfillment of an ancient prophecy, the answer to humanity's deepest longing, and the beginning of our redemption story. As we journey through the familiar passage of Christ's birth, we discover that every detail, from a humble manger to the visiting shepherd, from Mary's faithful yes to the angel's glorious proclamation, reveals something profound about God's characters and his love for us. This is not a story to be merely remembered once a year, but a truth to be lived daily, transform how we see ourselves, our purpose, and our Savior. May this guide us into a deeper understanding of the wonder, the sacrifice, and the unfadable grace, wrapped in a swaddle cloth and laid in a manger over 2,000 years ago. So let's begin reading Micah chapter 5, verse 2. But as for you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, too little to be among the clans of Judah, from you one will come forth for me to be the rulers in Israel. His time of coming forth are from long ago, from the day of the eternity. God is speaking through the prophet Micah. This is a prophetic oracle that God directly revelation given to Micah to announce to his people. The verse addressed Bethlehem Ephrathah, a small town in Judah, but the message is ultimately for all of the Israel in Judah. The people hear this prophecy would have been living during Micah's ministry around 735 to 700 BC, a time of moral corruption and the impending judgment. God declared that despite Bethlehem's insignificance, it is too little to be among the clans of Judah. A ruler will come from this humble town, and this ruler will come forth for me was God's purpose. Be rulers in Israel. Have origin from long ago, from the days of eternity. And the last phrase is remarkable. It indicates that this ruler has internal existence, not just a human lineage. The prophetic fulfillment, this was approximately 700 years later when Jesus was born in Bethlehem. This is from Matthew chapter 2, verse 1 through 6, and Luke chapter 2, verse 4 through 7. When the wise men asked Herod where the Christ will be born, the chief priest and scribe quoted this very passage from Micah. Micah prophesied during a dark period when both Israel and Judah faced the Assyrian threats. The people needed hope that God will send the promised deliverer. God used the unlikely and the humble, and Bethlehem was insignificant. Yet God chose it to use it for the birthplace of the Messiah. And God often works through what the world overlooks. If you feel small or unimportant, remember that God specializes in using humble for his greatest purpose. God's plan spans eternity. The ruler origin are from the days of eternity. Jesus exists before his birth in Bethlehem, and God's redemptive plan wasn't an afterthought. It was established before the creation. This gives us confidence that God's purpose for our lives are also intentionally and established. Hope in difficult times. Micah's audience faced natural crisis, yet God promised a coming ruler who will bring peace. When life feels uncertain, we can trust that God's promises are sure and His timing is perfect. Jesus is the eternal King, and this prophecy points us to worship Jesus, not just a good teacher, but as the eternal ruler who exists before time began and will reign forever. Reflect the questions. Where in your life do you feel too little or insignificant? And how does knowing God chose humble Bethlehem change your perspective on what He can do through you? Today's truth from Micah chapter 5 verse 2. The prophecy of Christ's birth in Bethlehem, fulfilled perfectly centuries later, remind us that God's promises are certain and His plans are perfect. Just as He orchestrated every detail of Jesus' coming, from the smallest town to the greatest king, He is orchestrating the detail of your life today. Trust that what God has spoken over you will come to pass. His timing is always right, and His faithfulness never fails. Live today knowing that same God who kept His promise to send a Savior is keeping every promise He made to you. Thank you, ladies, and have a blessed day.